Question number 2 is how should you be with your feelings and struggles with your youth? And I probably should have rephrased it. So how honest should you be? How honest should you be with your feelings and struggles with your youth? It's a good question because there's a lot of times with students that, and this is one, I'm guilty of this, where you allow your frustrations, your ministry frustrations, your feelings and frustrations about how youth are going, that it bleeds over into your preaching, your teaching, your interactions. It comes out in sarcasm. It's never good. It's never good. Don't do it. I know you want to say it. I know you want to take your frustration out on the students, but don't do that. That's not a good idea. So I'm going to say, if you're going to share feelings, right? The Apostle Paul shared his feelings in very strong ways in the letters that he wrote. And these letters were read publicly. The epistles were read publicly to the conversation. So he would talk about the tears he cried. He would talk about how earnest he was in prayer. He would talk about these things. And for us, it's, once again, he is doing it. He's writing them from jail, first of all. Okay. He's writing these letters from jail. And so his perspective is a little different than ours. Ours is our ego. The problem is that our ego is hurt because kids won't bring their friends. I'm under pressure from my pastor. I have to grow this youth group, and I have to do these things. And so we're frustrated with parents, with students, with our pastor, and that cannot be the driver of the emotions. In other words, if you're feeling all that pressure, probably best not to say anything because it's not going to be fruitful, right? It's not going to be fruitful. So how would you then share your feelings? And I have felt this. Let me tell you something. God has checked me before. And and there's something that I've been wanting to say sometimes with my youth group, and God would say, yeah, you probably shouldn't do that. Don't do that. That's not fair to them. Because a lot of they don't have control over some things, Paul, and that's not fair to put that on them. It's not fair to make them guilty of these things. It's not fair. So the Lord's checked me, and you have to be wise in doing that. Now, can you share your feelings with your students? You can, but I would do it you have to do it from a pure place. You have to do it and you have to be able to do it from a place of, like, example, if you said, if you talked about your role and your responsibility to your students, right? Guys, my responsibility as a youth pastor, my sole purpose is not to entertain you. It's not to be your friend all the time. And for your students to understand your role as a pastor, as a shepherd, as one who leads and guides. I think if you're coming the way the Apostle Paul did, right? He was passionate about them loving one another, caring for one another, serving one another, right? A lot of one another's throughout his letters. And so if you're going to share your feelings, your frustration, if you will, you have to come from a place that doesn't involve guilt, that doesn't involve your own frustrations. It has to come from an absolute love and care for the body of Christ, of what you're trying to do as a group, as a leader. And I don't think you need to talk very long about it. I think that you can do it. It can be weaved in to your teaching or your message, and not to make it a focal point. And not, guys, I just want to share my feelings with you, and then go on a rant. That's oftentimes what it comes across as one who has done it. So how do you then do it? Well, I think that's something you have to pray about. I can only offer you some suggestions. I can only offer you some ideas on that. But I know what not to do. I know that you don't need to jump on your students. I think there's better ways to do it, and keeping your youth ministry together versus creating guilt or shame or any of those things. Because if it's coming out of like, hey guys, you need to make me look good, So you need to go invite friends. That's the wrong motivation. The motivation is you're trying to help them mature into people who love Jesus, right? And if you love Jesus, you love your neighbor. And if you love your neighbor, then why not invite them to a community that we have here called youth, where they could find how to grow. And I think that's the best place to come from, is that you're saying, look, I'm trying to help you mature in your faith. And part of maturity is growing together. And part of maturity is sharing your faith. And part of Christian maturity and following Jesus is getting to a place where you don't care about other people's opinions. You simply say, hey, I want to invite you to church. And if you think I'm an idiot for doing that, then so be it. Right? But that's about maturity. You're helping mature kids, not wrangle them. They're not there to, complete your master plan of having the largest youth ministry in town. They're there because they want to be loved and they want to be cared for, and they don't want to be a tool in the ministry box for growing the largest ministry in town. Growth should be natural. Growth should be an outpouring of their relationship with God, which is what you do have input into. If you tell them, this is my input, I'm here to help you grow in your relationship with God, and an overflow of that is that you love your neighbor enough to say, hey, why don't you come to youth? Why don't you come to church? Better still, why don't you come to Jesus, right? Have students sharing the gospel outside of group, right? Because that shows maturity, Christian maturity, that you can share your faith because it's a deep conviction, because you love your neighbor, right? So I hope that helps. I hope that, once again, about the other stuff like sharing your feelings on other things, don't tell them that you're depressed. Don't tell them all the negative things. They have enough on their mind. They don't need your problems or my problems on their head. They don't need to worry about your issues. That's what prayer is for. That's what therapy is for. That is what counseling is for. That is what your pastor is for. Go tell those things to those people. Give your kids what you can give them out of the purest place of your heart. If you're brokenhearted that they don't understand, then look, I say, I pray for you guys. I weep for you guys because I love you and because I want you to mature in your faith. Don't come from a place of those other things I said, because it just won't resonate, and it's not going to make you feel any better.